man, if you're hunting and fishing, I've said this before on the show. I mean, I know Louisiana is a sportsman's paradise. I get it. Tennessee's right there.
Yeah.
We don't have the salt water, so they got us beat on that. But other than that, man, we've got anything you want to do and complete diversification of how you want to do it. Man, it's a ton of fun.
It's a place to be.
Yeah, and if I can just figure out how you like that.
Yeah.
A nice plug.
Tennessee, the place to be.
If I can just figure out how to do it more, that's the only challenge.
The award-winning Tennessee WildCast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching and listening. We got a fun show for you today. Mr. Jason Holland is back with us. Jason Holland Fishing. We're glad you're here.
Hey, glad to be back.
It's been a few weeks.
It's been a few weeks.
Yeah.
I've missed you.
Well, that makes me feel special.
Well, you should. I miss Mr. Don more, but you're not too bad.
Yeah,
I
Mr.
ain't
Don.
hanging out with you.
Mr. Don's running the board today.
He is, and it's going to make me sound even better. Yeah, he's waving over there.
There he is. Yeah, Todd's out today, and but that's okay. We got Mr. Don running the board, and me and Jason, we're going to talk about river fishing today.
We are?
So before we get to that, let's jump into our radio station highlight. We're thankful for WTN 997, Super Talk 997. They run the WildCast here in Nashville area on Sundays at 11. So
Absolutely.
If you want to catch this show, they run a full hour. So they run this show plus another one, an older show or something we've recorded for them. So it's always great to have those radio partners.
Yeah, it's huge. And put it on your calendar.
Yeah.
Make sure you listen.
Yeah.
Go out and check it
If
out.
you're not at church on Sunday morning, tune us in.
Yeah,
or when
well,
you're getting out, tune us in.
If you're getting out, I'd figure out a way. I don't know. Record it.
Yeah,
Do something.
there you go.
Can you even DVR? I don't even know.
Well, you know what? If they miss it on the radio, they can listen to it on the podcast.
Ding, ding. There we go.
Subscribe on podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, iHeart. We're out there all over the place. Google. Find us on your favorite podcasting platform, and then if all else fails, hit our social media. You can
There
find
you go.
it.
You can find us. I mean, we're everywhere.
Yeah.
We're popular. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but we're kind of a big deal.
Yeah, we get a few views.
Yeah, we get a
and
few.
listens.
A few dozen. I mean, we got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, of course.
No, we really do appreciate the audience out there who tunes us in every week, and we got some good feedback from a gentleman on YouTube. So we're going to try to hit some of the things he was interested in today and in a few other shows. So real quick, the e-store is open, shop.gooutdoorstennessee.com. Get your hats, your mugs, your drinkware, your buffs, all that fun stuff. Got keychains and stickers and all kinds of fun stuff at the e-store. But this hat that I'm wearing today, if you're listening, go back and watch. Cool hats coming in. If they're not there, they will be there soon. And
I'm buying one. I mean,
you better.
Yeah, well, I don't have a choice. I think Mr. Don done cracked the whip. Like, hey, you're gonna come back. You're gonna have to buy a hat. Like, I get it. Extortion over here, but no, I love that hat. It's a Richardson hat. I mean, hey, it's awesome,
top notch. So I'm
we
excited.
don't do bad stuff around here.
No, it's all good.
It's all high end.
It's
stuff.
all good. Hey, I wanted to. Before we jump in, did you do anything? Did you do any duck hunting or any deer hunting this year?
So
you've been too busy.
Well, I did a big move from a career standpoint, so that's got me busy. But I did sneak out the first part of December and did a little duck hunting. It was odd. I've never duck hunted in basically a T-shirt. So if y'all remember back in December, the first part, it was super hot. We did okay, and then of all years, it's the least amount of duck hunting I've done. Man, I don't even know when. So I'm sad. I missed that. And, of course, we have a fantastic year. I hunt reelfoot pretty much most of the time and then in West Tennessee. It's tough on the front part of the year. And then the cold weather came in, and, man, it just lit up.
Yeah.
One of the best years they've had in multiple years. And, of course, I miss it. It's just it's kind of a theme in my life.
You got to pay the bills, so.
Yeah, I mean, I got a wife and kids that need to eat. So, but no, I didn't get to do. I didn't deer hunt. I did at least the amount of hunting this year than I've ever done, and so, I'm sad about it. But it's okay. The great thing is we've got more opportunities,
more fishing opportunity around the corner, and I mean, you can fish any time of year, but turkey season will be here before you know it. So
yeah, so it's pretty interesting. So I spent the first full weekend of January up in the Detroit area. I was working a fishing expo, and a lot of time with walleye guys, bass guys, just everything up there, salmon guys. A lot of fun. Spent 4 days. It was a great event. They had thousands of people through the show. But what I learned is that there's actually in other states, there's actually fishing seasons. Now, coming from the South, I was just absolutely blown away. And I think a lot of that has over the years has moved and switched. But there was not that many years ago. I mean, there was a fishing season. You couldn't get on the water till X date, and you had to be off the water in X date.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, you got to be kidding.
It wasn't because of ice or something. Or
No, it was just it's just like a deer season, like a duck season.
Okay.
I'm like, this is absolutely, it blew my mind. I stood there with my mouth completely wide open, like I don't even know how to process it. And really, the point of that story is that I get back home and I look at the resources that we have. We look at what opportunities that we have in the state of Tennessee. And for me, it made me grateful. Didn't even know it was something to be. I didn't even know that it actually existed of having seasons. But just the ability of what we do, we can do it, how we do it. I went out to California a few years ago. Get a friend out there. We spent 5 days, hit a bunch of different lakes. Had a great time. Beautiful part of the country. But what I learned from there is it's a whole different aspect of fishing there, right? You have massive launch fees. You have all it is costing us $43 just to put the boat in the water to go fishing for. And that actually had a start time and an end time that you could be on the lake. Yeah. So you had this whole group of fishermen lined up. And there's probably 75 boats, trucks and boats that were lined up outside the gate. And they would not open the gate until a certain period of time. Then you had to pay your fee. And then you had to be off the water at a certain time. Very expensive to go. Now, it was beautiful and caught a bunch of fish, and it was fantastic. I'm not talking bad about it. I'm just saying the difference of we're very blessed in the state of Tennessee.
You stole the word. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, and when you go out and you get exposure or you experience something outside of the norm, for me, all it's done is just help solidify the fact of how blessed we really are. At the type of fisheries that we have, how they're maintained, the level, the quality of fishing that we have. I went to Ohio and Indiana and fished in that part of the world. Man, it's just a whole. I mean, you bring in a tournament, you bring in 5 fish. I mean, and like 8 or 9 pounds are winning it. Well, you come in the state of Tennessee, you're going to be 20 plus to win a tournament. And so it's just the level of our fisheries. And I think a lot of that goes back to, of course, where we're at in the country. All right, we've got a longer growing season. We do have 4 seasons, which does help. You know, it's the natural fluctuation of the shad die off, having longer times for incubation of the fry that's born. It's just there's a lot of, so we're really in a good spot because we have those 4 seasons. So it allows just our fisheries to flourish. The other side of it is we do a fantastic job as a state managing those and not putting a lot of crazy restrictions, but we still have enough restrictions that we're maintaining the fishery to allow guys like myself and everybody else to go out, have some of the greatest days. You can catch quality, you can catch quantity, and you can do any type of fishing that you want to do. I know today we're going to talk a lot about fishing rivers and a couple different variations of what a river looks like, but we are so blessed that we can go on any part of the country. We want to go trout fishing, we go up to the East Tennessee. We can go out and hit the far west side at Pickwick and everything in between. And having those experiences or being exposed to other parts of the country, again, just made me appreciate even more. If I want to go fishing this afternoon, I can't because I have to work, and then my wife would yell at me again. But if I can go anytime I want to go, I can walk as long as I'm got my license and do the right legal thing.
Right, yeah.
I can go anytime I want to go, and not have and I can't imagine not having that ability. And there's other people in parts of the country that just don't have that ability. So I have no idea how we got on that subject.
Well,
but
I was going to say thank you for those kind words. Our guys are busy out there working hard, and they'll appreciate what you just said, and couldn't have said it any better myself. So
hey, get shameless plug. I wasn't even planning on doing it. How'd you like that, Mr. Don? Yeah,
but it's across the state. I mean, east to west, it's amazing the opportunities.
It's huge.
Like you said, the climates and the seasons, but just the landscapes and the changes. It's amazing how Tennessee has it all. Yeah, well, you look, and I know it's not what we'll talk about, and we'll hit it quick. But I mean, you look at Middle Tennessee, where we're based out of Nashville. We've got some flat lower lands, and we also have, I don't call them mountains, but we got some pretty good sized hills and ridges and things, which is a whole different type of hunting, which also produces a different type of fishing. You go out the east, completely different. You go out west, which is flat, more farmland, completely different type of fishing and hunting. And what's so cool is that we can go tip to tip, east to west, and have a completely different experience, and all do it with the same hunting and fishing license.
You can't do that
Yep.
anywhere else.
Yep.
And maybe you can. I don't say you can't, but it's a lot harder. And a lot of places don't have the diversity, and that's just because we're a super long and skinny state, hitting all different types of ranges. And man, if you're hunting and fishing, I've said this before on the show. I mean, I know Louisiana is a sportsman's paradise. I get it. Tennessee's right there.
Yeah.
We don't have the salt water, so they got us beat on that. But other than that, man, we've got anything you want to do and complete diversification of how you want to do it. Man, it's a ton of fun.
It's a place to be.
Yeah, and if I can just figure out how you like that,
Yeah.
A nice plug.
Tennessee, the place to be.
If I can just figure out how to do it more, that's the only challenge.
Well, let's learn how to do more bass fishing on the river.
Let's do it.
That's what we're going to talk about today, and appreciate, like I said, the YouTube follower that sent us some suggestions, and I thought, these are great. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
So we want to talk rods, reels, baits, and things like that for bass fishing on the river.
Yeah. So
And we'll define a river.
Yeah, we'll define it. And so a couple things. And so in my mind, again, it's I see rivers as two different scenarios. One river being such as here locally the Harpeth River, which is more indicative of kayaking.
Wading.
The wading piece could be because it does have some pretty deep spots that you'd have to kind of be more confined. But really, it's more of that kayaking type scenario. And then you also have a river system. You have more where a lake turns into more of the river type system, and so you're going to fish those differently. We'll talk a little bit about fishing from the bank. We'll talk a little bit about what type of rod, reels, line, baits that you'll use in both scenarios. So really, we're going to focus on we'll talk more of the small river. We'll start there. And so,
sounds good.
And when you look at those are really what drives that whole system is the current flow, right? Water level and current flow. And that's really how, when you approach it from a fishing standpoint, you're going to want to look at what's the water doing? What's the fluctuation? Is it real low? Is it real high? Has it been fluctuating? So,
Muddy, clear.
Yeah, muddy, clear, warm water, cold water. The great thing about that flowing water is it has a more consistent temperature on the cooler side, just because flowing water has a tendency to stay more cool, and it's usually spring-fed. So it's going to be cooler, which is a fantastic place in the summertime. Now, I know we're still in the winter, and it's going to be colder, but in the summertime, man, those type of rivers are fantastic fishery because they're going to stay fundamentally cooler than some of your big lakes. But when you look at that, you really want to look at, before you go, what is that water doing? And from there, that will help you. Because again, you're in a kayak or you're on the bank, you're not going to be able to carry a ton of stuff, right? You're going to want to be more concise, more effective and efficient with what you have. And so if you will look at what's the weather done, right? If you can't look at, again, I don't get weighed in the weeds, but if you can't look at water fluctuation, or you can't look at outflow, or you can't look at how deep it is, for lack of a better word.
Right.
All right, just look at the weather's done.
How much rain have we had?
Very simple. How much rain? If we had a bunch of rain, it means the water's going to be up and it's going to be pretty muddy. And so the baits that you will take will be focused on that type of watercolor. Now, if you're fishing in a boat, you got all your tackle with you, you make that conscious decision while you're on the water. Before, if you're going to a river system, you're going to have to make that decision before. So look at the water's doing. The second thing that you want to look at is you got to remember everything is smaller in that type of scenario, right? So the bait fish are smaller. Typically, the game fish that you're going after, bluegill or crappie, or of course we're talking about bass, they're going to be smaller.
Sure.
Fundamentally, you may have a big one here or there, but just because of the system and where they live, they're going to be smaller. So whenever you're going to target a smaller game fish, so again, we're going to just talk about bass, you want to make sure you downsize, right? You don't want to go into that type of river system and throw a 12-inch worm. No. Just because the context is completely out of what they're normally going to be feeding on.
Sure.
So you want to go smaller. You want to go lighter line. It's going to help you get more bites because, again, you don't want to overpower your bait. You don't want to have a MEPS inline spinner. There you go. That's kind of the standard when you go creek fishing or river fishing. Everybody's got an inline spinner, which are fantastic.
I think of a rooster tail.
You got it. It's exactly right. So what you don't want is you don't want a quarter-ounce rooster tail and 20-pound fishing line. Your line is going to way overpower the bait, and it's just not going to work.
Hard to cast.
Yeah, hard to cast. It's way overpowered, and you don't need it because you don't have that type of fish. So I always recommend use a line that is the lightest you can get away with. All right, and so the other piece is when you look at, and we're talking about rod, reels, and line, you want to use typically a spinning reel.
Sure.
And a spinning rod. Mm-hmm. Reason being is you're more accurate with it, typically. you can throw much lighter baits on a spinning rod and reel than you can a bait caster. And then you also have the versatility of it, right? So you can get a shorter rod because, again, you're going to want a shorter rod because, again, everything is compressed, everything's confined. You got overhanging limbs everywhere. You got stuff in the water. You want to be very accurate with your casting. And to do that, a spinning reel that is a spinning rod that is shorter picks up your accuracy.
And how much fun is that? I mean, those smaller rods and reels, fight that some of those fish that can come out of the river, it puts up a fight. Makes it fun.
That's the greatest part of it. And I think I have to be careful as a tournament fisherman, right? Everything's about how many can I get, how fast can I get them in the boat, and then just that whole mindset. Well, you're not going to be tournament fishing on a river, right? That is absolutely laid back, fun fishing. Take your kids, and I want to fight. My personal favorite, I love an ultralight, like a 6-foot ultralight rod with a size 100 reel. Everything's small, compact, like 4 pound, 6 pound line. I mean, I'm there just for the fun of it.
Work that fish.
Yeah, I mean, I want to fight. That's what we all love. We love feeling the bite, and we love to fight. And so river fishing is really, really good for that. So let's talk real quick about, we kind of hit on it, and I'm going to do my best, Mr. Don, to not hit the ceiling like I do every time when I bring a rod in here.
Did you bring a cash in today?
I did bring a cash in.
All right.
Imagine that on the hat. Big fan of cash and rods. I'm only going to go into a commercial, but 100% American made in North Carolina. They make the blank. They make the grips. Lifetime warranty on their Icon, and this actually series I have here, which is the John Crew series. Fantastic. Go check them out. You won't be disappointed. Cash and fishing rods. There you go. There's my plug. Not too bad.
Hey, what's the website while you're there?
It's cashandrods.com.
There you go.
Pretty simple.
Easy.
You just put it in. It's cashin'. It's like the word fashion with the C. I get that question a lot. I don't even know how to spell it. Well, take the word fashion, replace the F with a C. Bada boom, bada bing. There you go.
There you go.
Google's your friend. So we talked about, and Mr. Don, I got it up here by my shoulder so we actually could see it this time. I get yelled at by Todd every time I mess it up. It's a spinning reel, spinning rod. Again, I like a shorter rod. This is actually a 7-footer, but anywhere between that 6 to 7 foot really is that sweet spot. And depending on what you're throwing, just you can make that decision. We won't go into a whole series about picking it, but
whatever's comfortable.
Yeah. So spinning reel and rod and reel combo will give you that ability to throw the lighter stuff, smaller stuff that you need to in that type of river system. Personally, from a line standpoint, I use a braided line.
Okay.
So I use anywhere between a 12 to 16 pound braided line, extremely thin diameter. And then what I'll do is I've got some Gamma. This is fluorocarbon. Highly recommend Gamma. I'm not sponsored by them. I get nothing from saying this. But Gamma is absolutely fantastic, super lightweight, and it doesn't have the line memory.
Is that a leader or is that the line? The line.
This is the leader.
Okay.
You stole my thunder.
I'm
Look
sorry.
at you.
I'm sorry.
Get ahead of me.
Well, you said braided. And
Yeah. So use braided line and then absolutely tie it to it. I like to do. All right. This is what I like to do.
Yeah.
I like to take 12 to 16 pound braid. I tie typically a 6 to 8 pound. This actually happens to be right in the middle. It's 7 pound, which is my personal favorite. And I tie a leader on that. The other thing that you can do is you don't have to use braid. You can go straight fluorocarbon, or you can go straight monofilament.
Okay.
Whatever you're more comfortable with. Straight monofilament is going to be the less expensive option. Just getting into fishing, which I absolutely understand. Do everything on a budget. Buy what you can afford.
Sure.
Start with monofilament. You're looking for a line size in between that 6 to 8. It's a great place to start. But that's your rod and reel setup.
Okay.
Spinning rod, spinning reel, braid to my personal is braid to fluoro from a leader standpoint.
Well, you mentioned the reel size earlier, 100. What's that mean? Is that on all reels?
Well,
or is that just your model you like?
Yeah, no. So Don, I keep hitting the ceiling. Don't yell at me. It's so really you got 1,000, a 2,000. 3,000. It just kind of goes up and down, and it's just the size. I think I may have said 100. I meant 1,000. It's just the size and the depth of your spool, right? So when you get into that saltwater realm, you're in that 6,000, 7,000, and that's just the size. So it's a standard unit of measurement when it comes to the spool.
So no matter what brand you're buying, that's going to be your scale.
Typically, yes. It's going to be, and they'll have it broken out by the thousands, 1,000s, 2,500, 3, and just kind of goes up from there.
Gotcha.
So most everything that I use is in that 1,000 range. And sometimes, and the reason sometimes it's called 1,000, sometimes it's called 100 based on the manufacturer. So it can go either way. Most of the time you're going to see in the thousands.
Sure.
That's how it's broken out.
Perfect.
But again, I'm not making bomb cast, right? I'm not casting it 20, 30, 40 yards.
Yeah, because it's not a real wide area.
You got it. So I like the pool size, just because one is lighter. Oh, now I done killed the turkey.
Oh no,
jeez,
turkey's coming off the wall.
You cannot let me come into the studio without breaking something. I can break an amble. Ask my wife. She'd love to yell at me about it. So bait wise, so let's talk real quick about baits, lures. How are we on time?
We got
some minutes. Okay.
Good.
All right, good. So I'll make sure we have time to talk more about the other version of a river. So again, everything's going to be downsized. So you're going to use smaller baits. So you can use, we talked about rooster tails, Mepps inline spinners. Those are fantastic for a plethora. They will catch bluegill to bass and everything in between.
Trout.
Yeah, absolutely.
Winter trout. And
Winter trout.
Some of these smaller rivers. So
yeah, absolutely. Those mimic just about any type of bait fish, and typically they're smaller, and so they're really good when things are colder. Your bait fish are going to be smaller, so those are a really great option. They're very inexpensive. You can go to your local bait shop, you can hit any of the big box stores, and you can buy several of them for just a few dollars. I've got a whole box of them.
Yeah.
I've had since I was a kid. Tons of fun memories with them, and there's actually kind of a whole revival of bigger inline spinners for lakes and for bass fishing.
Yeah.
Anyway, we won't get into that, but those are a good one. Another couple things that are really good. Again, we're talking downsize. Everything's got to be smaller. This is the micro jig. It's made by Missile Baits. It's a version of a normal size jig. It's just everything's obviously smaller, compact, smaller hooks, smaller weights. This is actually the football head. So football heads work great in river systems that have, and most of them have more of a rock, a chert bottom, or a pea gravel type bottom. A football head works great when there's rock. It just it comes through that rock much better opposed to a more pointed type arrowhead. So I'm a big fan of the micro jig. Just get a small piece of plastic, whatever you want to use for a trailer. You don't even have to use a trailer sometimes. So those
fish it the same way, right?
You got it. Same way. Just throw it out, put it on the bottom. Now, here's the difference that we haven't talked a lot about, but you're always dealing with some level of current. And so what you're looking for is you're always looking for those current seams, right? You're looking for those pockets where a smallmouth more than most, or even a trout, but most of them don't want to be in a constant current. So it'd be like you walking or running against a massive headwind. Well, we're always going to try to do path of least resistance.
Right.
And bass are no different, right? They're going to sit in an eddy. They're going to sit in the backside of a current seam, waiting for that bait fish to be swept through the current. They'll run out, grab it, and get back. So the goal of a bass is to spend the least amount of energy to get the biggest meal that they can. So when you're fishing those type of scenarios, be throwing in pockets, or be throwing when you see the eddies or the current seams, be throwing in those pockets behind those. That's where you're going to have the most success. Not saying you can't catch some stuff in the current. You can. But fundamentally, you're going to catch more, and that goes for any of the levels of fish, panfish or for bass. Perfect. So there you go. Another good one that I like a lot. This is the Berkeley Flatworm. It's a much smaller worm. It's 3.6 inches. This type of deal, you can use a real small hook and Texas rig it. Most guys will throw a drop shot. We won't go into drop shotting, what that technique looks like and how to set it up, but drop shots on a river are dynamite. It gets that bait off the bottom. So if you're fishing in more of a silt bottom, more of a sandy bottom, or just a dirt bottom type river, drop shots get that lure off the bottom, and so it's not just dragging through the mud. It's up there at eye level. So drop shotting, the power worm is great. Another one that I love to throw is the Missile. It's the Ned rig, and we've talked about that before. Again, it's just a small version of a shaky head, but their Ned bomb soft plastic is fantastic. They have Ned heads in the whole 9 yards. And then to kind of and we kind of hit on it real quick, but your fishing line is extremely important in this scenario because, again, you don't want overpowered fishing line. You don't want a real high tensile strength because you got smaller fish, so you don't need 20-pound. But it's going to be really important for the action of your lure with a smaller diameter line. So we talked about the baits, talked about the rod and reels. We talked about where to fish it, look for current seams, and then also anything that's in the water. Typically, when you're fishing rivers, there's going to be logs that's falling in, limbs that's falling in, brush. I've caught them off the backside of tires that people throw. So be looking for, it's a very target-rich environment, so make sure you're casting to the backside of whatever that you're fishing, because that's where they're going to be sitting,
And
outside the current.
That's kind of the same philosophy on a bigger body of water too. You fish the structure kind of the same way, right?
Yeah, and that's a great segue. So let's talk about a larger river system, and basically in between. They're still all part of the actual quote unquote lake, right? But they're all actually still part of a river as well. So we'll use Old Hickory Lake here. That's just, they dammed it up, and so when everybody thinks lake, they think these big, open, expansive areas, which is true. I mean, that's part of the lake as well. But the Old Hickory is actually part of the Cumberland River, so it's dammed up the Cumberland River. And so as you get away and get upriver, away from those big, wide expanses, obviously everything shrinks in, everything gets very narrow, and it's more riverish, I guess. Maybe that's the right. That's not the correct English, but we all know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And so in those scenarios, you're going to do the same thing that you did on a smaller body of water or the smaller river. It's just going to be on a larger scale, meaning you're still going to look for current breaks, right? You're still going to look for riprap. You're still going to look for overhanging branches or limbs, or you're still going to look for stuff for stumps. Anything that breaks the current, you're still going to be using that type of scenario. Now, you're going to have typically larger fish, and so you can step up your still use a spinning rod for most of that type of stuff.
2,000 now, going up a little bit maybe?
Yeah, I mean, you can go with a bigger spool. You can go to a little bit thicker line. And then also you can bring in a bait caster, which I won't throw it up on camera, but you can bring up a bait caster, and you can use larger baits. So in that scenario, so for instance, you'll see a lot of rivers, especially in the bends, they come in and put riprap just to help with the erosion. Those are absolutely dynamite to fish. Look for where that river bends, where that current is coming in and crashing into that and then being diverted out. It's a great place for bass to set up. It's a great place for them to sit in ambush. And so those scenarios, what I'll do is I'll parallel. I'm in a boat, all right? So we're talking about a boat here, and we'll talk about fishing from the bank. It's the same concept. I get parallel, meaning I want to be as close to that bank as I can, and I want that cast to be as natural as I can coming to the bass. That's going to be what the normal flow of bait fish coming to them. And then just absolutely, you'll use a square bill crankbait. It's a great bait for that. It's just crashing and it's bouncing everywhere, and it mimics what a normal bait fish is doing as it comes in from the current and gets hits against it. So, he doesn't turn the timer on me. But from a river system, do the same thing. Beef up everything, go to a little bit bigger worm, same type of scenarios, but again, you're looking for current breaks. They're not going to be sitting out in the current. They're not going to be sitting out there suspended in 40 foot of water. So if you're fishing from the bank, get down to the river's edge. Be safe, be smart, don't be stupid. It's not worth hurting yourself and what we're dying for and get swept into the current, but get as close as you can at the edge and make that cast parallel as well. Okay. And look for those type of scenarios. So hopefully you got something out of it. And there's still some opportunities that we didn't really get into, but same type of deal. Look for current breaks. Look for anything that fish will set up behind. Cast into those. You'll have a higher percentage of it. So thanks for having me here. As always, love hanging out with you, Mr. Don. Missing Todd today, but we'll be back next time. So again, remember your 3 favorite things: your faith, your family, and your fishing. Check me out, Jason Holland Fishing, on all social media platforms. Thanks again for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Always a lot of knowledge. Appreciate what we've talked about today. We'll have to have you back, do more on the river, fishing. I'm sure there's so much more we could cover. So.
It goes on and on. It's a winding road.
Yeah, or a winding river.
Oh, bingo.
Yeah, there you go.
Well played.
Well, this is Tennessee WildCast. Appreciate you tuning in. Remember, tnwildlife.org for all things Tennessee wildlife, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee WildCast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.